Hey everybody, this is Brent Laster from Tech Skills Transformation. I'm here with your We Love Open Source AI Tech Tip of the day. So today, let's talk a little bit about interfaces to AI tools. Now you're probably used to going into things like ChatGPT to get to get interactions with the open AI models, or maybe Claude models through the Anthropic's interface there in the browser. But if you're using something like GitHub Copilot, one of those assistive tools, you may be thinking that you have to have it installed, you have to have it available as an extension like in an IDE or in another application. But it turns out that there is a public and free open or github.com Copilot interface that you can get to. By going to github.com.copilot, you have a browser-based interface, not initially associated with any repository or anything, just available for you to work with in GitHub. You do have to be logged into GitHub, but you do have free access to Copilot there within a limited amount of quota in terms of using the models and such. But it should be enough for you to play around with things and to do a lot of work with initially for that. Now you have things in here like you can switch between models depending on what plane you're on to do that. You can also do things like attach files or from repositories connected up there, upload stuff from your computer to ask about. All of those kinds of things that you would expect to be able to do, again, with something like with Claude or ChatGPT or such, just doing it with Copilot. Now, we can do things in this Copilot interface, like we can ask it to write code, just like we would if we were using one of the other interfaces or if we were using Copilot inside of an IDE, but you get the benefit of Copilot with this and its expertise based off of the models it's using. Then we can close that up. And then we can also, though, tell it to do things like, say, tell me about a particular repository. Tell me about a particular repository in GitHub. So while it's working here, it's going through and accessing the APIs in GitHub to get basic information about it. It's not in a lot of detail there, but you get enough information that you can start to understand it. So this would be great, for example, if you're looking at a repository that perhaps you want to contribute to, or you want to fork and you want to learn something about it, this can give you a summary about it. Now you can also do things like, say, show me issues or look at the pull request. You may have noticed there was a link to show pull request initially when we brought up this page, but I can also just say show me issues from one of my repositories, for example. It finds the one issue I have in there and I can say, hey, summarize this issue for me. And it'll think about it for a little bit and then it'll give me the information. Again, it's kind of drawing information in the back off of the APIs in GitHub. So it's limited information, but it is directly drawing from that, which is one of the benefits of using something like Copilot that is directly integrated with an application like GitHub here. Now, one of the other things we can do is we can type the @sign. This is normally used for chat participants, as we call them, but we can select files and folders in here. Let's go and select one of these files from my repository I have where we work on creating GitHub Copilot extensions. So I'll select the launch.json file. You see it highlighted there in blue with the @sign, so I've selected it for context. And now I can just ask Copilot to explain this file and giving you some information about it. So again, in a scenario where you're trying to learn about something, or perhaps you even have an AI generated file and you're not sure what it does or why it does it there or something along those lines, and you want to do some review on it, you can actually have it added into the Copilot here and be able to have it explain information about it. Very convenient. Now, one other thing I'll show you is that if you are on a repository in GitHub, in the upper right, there is an Open Copilot button. Now, by default, this is going to take you to this same sort of large browser-based interface here to github.com/copilot, but associated with it, notice we've got the repository. So it immediately adds context. So questions you ask about it in here is going to assume are referring to that repository. Now, on the other hand, if you want to be in your code repository within the repository, looking at your code, you could also click on this little button here and you can indicate that you want to use the assistive version. Assistive version simply means that it's a smaller version of that window off to the side so you can keep looking at your code while you're working with it. But you can do the same kinds of things. You can ask questions about it, give it prompts and so on, attach things, and work with it that way. So I hope this gives you some ideas when you're working in GitHub of how you can get to this Copilot interface and be able to be productive by interacting with it right there, rather than having to go to an IDE or an editor or such with the extension installed.